welcome. I'm hoping you're hearing some music in the background there from Heavy Step. If not, done something wrong, but let me turn that down possibly there. There we go. But yeah, I got some music going now that you'll see here to begin with, so you should be hearing something in the background. You're probably hearing it over me, as it's probably a little bit louder than I want it to be. But hey, that'll be it for now here. I'm going to go ahead and close what else I got going. Hopefully you guys will see me here in just a second. I'm going to put things in order though before we get started. Today I just want to take a few minutes and talk about my card game. Some of my friends have been asking about it and asking me where my development's at in it, so I figured, hey, why not just get onto a stream and show people what I have? This is going to be something a little odd. This is not going to be a whole lot that you're going to see. Oh, there's the music. But you're going to see the basics. I'm going to explain a little bit about my process, how to do this. You're going to see a preview what the process will be like eventually here. So to start with here, get out of that music. There we go. Hi. So we're going to actually, because we're going to be not using the background here as much, I'm going to be making a new scene today. So I'm going to just go ahead and do that while we talk a little bit about games. So one of the first things I want to mention about making games is that you don't want to rush on things. Making games is a process that can go quickly, but shouldn't. If you really want to make a game very, very good, you need to test it a lot, and testing beyond what you can believe. You just testing needs to be done. So let's go ahead and put a live scene named Immortal, or let's just do live share. That'll be good enough for me. Live share scene now, and live share scene is going to get edited. We're going to take this and we're just going to, oh, that's the wrong one. We'll just, it'll just delete that element. Remove. Yes, I do. There we go. And we're just going to do this. And now I'm going to get big. Ah! Too big. Too big. Too big. I was not prepared for that. Okay, so we're going to stop fucking around with things. You guys can't see me anymore. Ah! That's not what we want. Messing everything up. That's my chat box. Let's put that back down. You're just seeing a blank desktop as let's not mess things up again here. Where did my webcam go? I don't understand what has happened. Did I delete my webcam? I don't. Okay, there it is. Okay, now apparently that's not it. Okay, so we're just going to delete that. Remove. Yes, we're going to remove. Go back to this one where you guys can see me again, and I'm going to do one more thing here. We're going to duplicate that. So you can see, like I was saying, it's never good to rush things. I tried to rush on here to get this going today, and now I'm paying for it. So we're going to do screen, and we're going to do webcam share. And then we're just going to add a new source. Video capture device, add source, add source. There we go. That will be what we do. That's easier. Hi, everybody. Okay, so webcam is going to go below the alert box. I'll just move the alert box up. There we go. Now, all my other stuff should pop up when people do things. Hopefully. Alright, so we are going to talk about games. So the first thing I'm going to do is introduce you to the same thing that I was first introduced to. A theory of fun. A theory of fun is a great place to begin. A theory of fun is something that will teach you a lot about why games are enjoyable and different things about entertainment. One of the things I think a lot of people fail when they're doing in game creation is that they make a game that actually isn't fun. They focus too much on making a game that's so balanced or so well fits to the theme of what they're doing or so logical that they forget that games are meant to be fun. The first thing about any game, you should have entertained crowd whenever you are doing it. The player itself could be your crowd, could be everybody who plays. It could just be you and your friends if that's all the game is meant for. But it needs to be fun. You need to be entertained. If the game is just meticulous, strategy driven, where all you do is just count numbers and do it, that might be some people's fun. But if there isn't any fun elements beyond just straight math, then all you are doing is homework. And people eventually figure that out. That's where I think a lot of games end up failing after just a short while of getting, because people start to play them and then they realize that they're not actually having fun. They're just repeating math problems over and over and over until the game ends. And that's really, in the long run, not fun. And same thing with a lot of other party and word games. Like they're fun with the right crowd because the people make them fun, but the game itself has a severe lack of fun because it's just basically repeating definitions of words. And so I think a lot of party games end up falling into that. As they're fun one or two times, but then once you know what your friends are going to say to certain answers, it starts to get dull on there. So with that, that's where you go to the next one here. Challenges for game designers. Not necessarily the only one you can get, but I suggest getting a book like this. And what we'll basically do is give you kind of some ideas and goals of things that you can build towards to basically improve your skills. So, looking into what certain problems that people ran into in developing other games, and basically not falling into their traps. One of the big ones again that people tend to fall into is they just go, "Oh, I'm going to make my game and make it towards the end of what it will be. Like I'm going to make a finished product and then I'll just get it going. Once I have the finished product, then I can do all this stuff." There's no way to go straight from nothing to a finished product and have it. It doesn't happen. Even the person who made Tic Tac Toe, I assume, spent some time developing and figuring that out before he actually just said, "Hey, let's go play this." Like you have to come up with ideas and rule sets and things like that. It's just there's no way that you come up with a perfect game the first time. It isn't going to happen, and don't stress over showing people a perfect product, because a perfect product will not exist. Um, my next thing here is I'm going to show you some cards just real quickly to show you some mistakes that you should avoid, as well as some things that you should maybe strive for here. First thing here, you're going to notice I got these little sleeves. Of course, the sleeves are great. I'm going to put the card up closer here. It's kind of white, so it's hard to see. Let's do that. Alright, so this is the War Elephant card. You can see it's got no art on there. The reason why is I'm not going to waste time doing art and doing basically things that I'm not going to keep. I could spend hours and days making custom little art pieces for myself on here, drawing little pictures and just cutting them in and putting it in there. But in the end, if I make this as officially a game going through, I'm going to pay a professional artist to make all these images, or I'm going to pay someone I know. Someone else is going to do that work and going to put hours and hours of their skill and time in there that I would be basically wasting my own doing that. So time management is big. So basically getting a nice little design like this that you can repeat and then reuse for each one. So as you can see here on my basic on my card, I'll show you little things here going closer. War Elephant is the name. Its number there in the top left corner telling you its series number. It's got its kind of abilities right there on there, and some other different identifiers. Now you'll notice I have different types of parentheses on there, different types of abilities, and then down below I got its stats on there with, of course, its cost as well. And I've broken these up into little boxes on there. It's a basic design. Now, don't waste time online looking for programs and other things that will give you the designs and layouts on this. I did that for probably 2-3 weeks trying to find good designs for cards that would fit my stuff, and trying out different ways to do it. And then I had a friend of mine come over, and within about 15 minutes of messing around on a program, he had designed a better looking card setup than any of those sites had basically templated out, and that was actually set up in a way that I saw, so I understood how to repeat the process. So my suggestion is just open up PowerPoint or one of those other programs with a really quick, easy snap design system, and just go at it with those for most of your design stuff. Don't look around for the perfect online resource, because for one, if you get resources online like that, you're always going to get your resources online like that. That's what you're going to do. That's how you're going to make your games always, and then you're really not making your own product. You're just putting together other people's products. I mean, I mean, if you want to be the IKEA of game making, go do that. Hey, more power to you. If you can make fun games doing that, then I guess try it. But I don't think you'll be very successful, or at least not as happy with what you come up with. Even if this doesn't become successful, even if this doesn't ever take off and become a real card game, no one ever plays it. Um, I have played it. I have played it with some of my friends. I enjoy it. And I am happy with what I've done here, because I know this came all from my own work and from my own friends' ideas and my ideas. Like, there was no, I didn't go and borrow this from other games. I didn't just take the ideas they had and take over on them. So that's my next piece of advice. If you're gonna make a game, don't start off by going, "Hey, I want to make a game for this book, or I want to make a game for this movie," or that's a great place to go to. It's a great place once you have some products to show off and some things, some ideas that you've done and worked on. You can go to a creator of something like that, go to a place like that and say, "Hey, here's an idea I have, and here's my game," and present it to them, and try to sell them on it. That's a great plan someday. But if you want to actually make games and become known as a game maker and actually get into the industry, I've been told by several places and several different people that are in the industry that you need to come up with a unique IP. You do not borrow from other places. You can, you can pay homage. You can do a lot of things to make people, recognize that you're kind of in the same genre or similar to another product if you want to. But for example, don't design a card game, designed around your favorite comic book, and then expect to be able to go out and sell it. Because if that comic book company decides, hey, they don't like it, you've now made a product that you can't sell because it's almost all themed and based around their world, and then you'll have to change and edit, and you won't be happy with that. You'll be bitter about the fact that they don't want your product. I had a good friend of mine who, really did a lot of card editing and did a lot of things online and made a big push into the Magic the Gathering world. And he was getting pretty big, and he had an idea for a card game, and he had a very series of books that he liked, and so he brought it to Wizards of the Coast, and it was a really good setup, really good idea, and they brought it to him, and that's basically what their higher ups kind of came back to them and said was that what you did was you brought us a great concept and idea, but because you've attached it to someone else's IP, it's not really something usable for us. We can't take anything with that, and all you've done is basically highlight somebody else's product, not your own. And so if even if he had just come there presenting it in a similar fashion to what theirs looked like, and not, basically like, oh yeah, this is a card game based off of their books, the problem that ends up happening is now that you have to deal with this other author, you have to deal with this other person, it's just, companies don't want to do that. They want you to have your own IP, you to have thought it up, you to have the lore. It makes it for them safer, easier, and a better bet. It's a new product, new licensing, they can make more off of it. you know that's just, again, my advice on there. If you're going to do any kind of game push in the world, try to make your own IPs first before trying to design games or ideas based around other places. Uh, Now, on that note, though, one of the great things here, with the world, I'm going to actually go back to the other screen, take myself down to a smaller screen for a second. There are some great tools that you can still use out there. For example, Minecraft. Minecraft in the creative mode is a great tool for visualization. If you want to build a city in Minecraft creative mode, go in there and build around, do that so you can actually visualize what it is that you're writing about what it is that you're designing in, and you can make that. You can even make your board. I have made several board game examples in Minecraft where you go through and you actually just out there, you just make the design on it. You put the board down there. I made Monopoly boards in there beforehand, but you just kind of put it out there because it's a nice gridded squares. So if you're gonna do any kind of grid kind of game, Minecraft's a great resource to visualize what the player will see. And all you have to do is fly up above it, and you can look down like, oh my God, that's gonna look too crowded, or that's gonna look too blocky, so you up it up a scale more, and so there's ways to use different tools. I also suggest, this is a plug of a program here, AnyDesk. AnyDesk is a program that allows you to use your phone or other devices to control your computer. And as someone who works on things on their computer all the time but forgets to transfer stuff, that's a very useful tool to go on there and send things through yourself to email, get on control of it. It works well. It's just random plug. I did not plan to plug that today, but it is. Um, and then also the other thing is use your webcam. I see a lot of people when they're making things here, they don't record themselves, and that's something that I'm going to start posting videos up to me. I didn't do a bunch of recordings when I made this because I wasn't streaming at the time, but I've been noticing that there are people who come on here and show off their games, show off what they're doing, show off their products. I was watching actually some devs play some Minecraft earlier that were playing a modded version of it that basically is a very popular mod that's been sold. And when I was watching them, I was sitting there listening to them talk about what they do and saying like that, and all they are is playing the game. This is the relaxing time for it. But then I was looking back to their videos, and I noticed even when their videos, when they're showing off stuff on there, they never actually show their process of creation. So I mean, I know some people think, oh man, watching someone sit there and code, that's boring. It's like, well, yeah, but you can splice it up. You can do other things. You could have someone coming over, and you can be explaining what it is that your job does, how you go about things. Like you don't have to go into the like, oh, I typed this and this happened, but you can go, oh, what my job is to go and edit these elements. When you edit these elements and then show on screen what it does, like there are ways to show it and make it entertaining and educational for the viewer. And so like one of the things that I'm going to be doing is I got some tools over here that I'm going to show about how to make actual cards and other things like that throughout this process when I go forward. But the big thing here, I'm just going to show off a couple more things on the cards. I got cards like this. You have adjacents. You got things like that, abilities. When I was making this card game, my focus was to try to make a game where the players' full strategy got to come out. It wasn't something where one of the lot of things I see a lot of card games do wrong, a lot of big games do wrong, is they feel like there's some kind of fairness and strategy to making a kind of a meta that people have to force into, and they say, okay, if you play this setup of cards and this setup of characters, and it dominates on these sets of characters, it's balanced because this third set of characters beats you. And I don't know what's going on with that. Well, I'll say hello, thank you for joining us here. Um, okay, yeah, so you're gonna get banned. Users in chat. Oh, already gone. Wow. Well, that was quick. That didn't even get a chance to ban that person. That is strange. That is weird. I'm gonna go to my feed and see if that showed up on there. It's a good thing I have my stuff set up to not show the last follower right now. That's so funny. Who the hell does that? What kind of troll just goes through like I'm gonna just go do this? Like uh that's so funny. So let me go here. Chat settings. Manage. clear chat. I'm sorry about that to anybody who sees that. I don't know if there's anything else I need to do. Yeah, I probably need to delete that follower. Yeah, give me a second. I don't know why people do shit like that. My stream's even set to mature audiences, so just so you know, I did not attempt to invite anybody who tried that. Let me see here. I'm gonna do this. See what it actually says on my screen right now. Okay, so it's not even saying anything up there. Oh well. Troll follower is troll follower. Alright, well, back to what I was saying here. Go back to my other screen here. Alright, so basically, when you're making games and you're doing any kind of creative product, um, you want to focus on what your skill sets are and what I mean, I don't know if this is where I was at before, but this is where I'm going to go. But you want to focus on where your skill sets are strongest, and then basically try to find what weaknesses that you can overcome, and what weaknesses that you should just are better off left to outsourcing. You don't want to outsource much to begin with. Of course, again, like this, like I was saying, I don't do the art right away because there's no point for me doing the art until I'm ready to actually do it. Because the art's awesome. Art's a hook for sales, but when you're first trying a product out and having people test it, the art's not as important. The part will become important as it will give people a feel for the theme and get them engaged with the game. But those are things, again, that I can't do as well. So instead of spending all my time learning to be an artist so I can do one little aspect of what I'm doing, I'd rather spend my time actually processing the game more. And so what I'll do is I will break the cards out and I will actually physically, redesign them in my head by playing them against each other. So I will set up little setups on the field and I will go across and see which ones work out, which ones do it. So I basically play test myself. Now that's not the most effective way. I would love to have 12 people come over, test all the time. My card game takes about an hour to play, maybe more. So it's not necessarily the easiest to test on there, which is another thing I suggest doing. If you're making a game, always figure out the length of the game prior to the testing phase. Once you get to the testing phase and you find out you've made a 4 hour long game, that's going to be hard to fix. So this is, again, a problem I'm working on this card game to get down. I made it and I designed it with a war of attrition in mind. It was designed around the concept that people too quickly lose their ability to react and do stuff in most card games. And so in that case, I want to make one where you had to get through the entirety of the product. So in this, you have to go through the entire deck multiple times, basically, when you play, to basically weed out the other players. Um, to begin with, I had it set up to 60 cards because I thought that would be a good amount. But as the game slows down, that kind of seems to be a slog on. So I'm probably going to reduce that. A lot of my rules and creations were based off the numbers for a 60 card deck. So in order for those to work, my next option would be 45 or 30, things like that. Again, an error on my part in the game creation. This is one of the games that I've learned a lot on. I've made several other games before, but most of them were board games or party games, so those games don't snag as much in rules. When you have a rule that doesn't work in a party game, you toss it out or you make it fun. In this, I can't just make a game rule fun because eventually that's going to write me into corners with strategy. So in the case that this is a strategy game, I have decided to go through and make basic kind of pods of strategy or sectors. So I've divided into four sections of the game that there are four different kind of overall strategies that those cards support. Now those card strategies can be intermixed with each other. None of them are going to be made to be the best. That's again, balancing is key in the game, but balancing is hard to achieve before you're testing. So to begin with, I suggest just making product. Go through, make basic versions of them. Don't make super complicated. Don't be like, oh, this card on turn 27 gets to do this, but turn 18 does this, and if you have a hat on, it gets this today. Those rules will never be able to be balanced easily, and trying at the beginning will be terrible. Make basic things. Do this thing has one attack, one defense. It costs one. Okay, this thing has two attack. It costs two. Things like that to begin with are easy to balance. Once you find and maintain what your game's balance is, and you got a basic understanding of it, then you can much more easily make complicated cards that will fit into that balance. But you need your base, your structure, especially for card games. If you're making other board games, any other kind of game, the balance and structure goes more likely with what your opponents and other people will be able to do. So an example, one of the big flaws of Monopoly is if you land on a lot of properties as the player who goes first going around and you're able to afford them, then you can really quickly weed out the board for other players behind you. So if you're, for example, playing a 4 or 5 player game and the first 3 people all hit on one of the properties in the first road, that's very likely that none of those other people will hit another property. And so they could go 3, 4 turns in before they could finally get a single property, which makes the game very unbalanced for players that are late in the turn order. That's a problem with that game. Monopoly is a terrible, terrible, terrible balanced game. But what it is fun. People have fun playing Monopoly. They don't have fun completing Monopoly. They have fun playing Monopoly. That's another thing I want to discuss. Completion of your game. Some games don't need to be completed. I can count probably on one hand the number of times I've actually completed a Risk game. At some point, you get to a point in a game where it is obvious who's going to win, and very few games actually make you force all the way to the end of that. One of the best examples of a game that has captured that perfectly and is successful because of that is Catan. Catan is a game that has gone through and it has just blown away competition year after year because you complete almost every round you play. You just maybe because someone dominated, it may be because you had to slog it out on there, but it's just there is no point usually when people just give up in that game because you can always band together and try to fight against the other guy as long as they're not at 9 points on the final turn. So if you start early enough on sabotaging the leader, that game, it always you always want to get to completion because the last turns can very likely determine who wins. Another game that has a unique perspective like that. Carcassonne, other ones like that, were games where you don't calculate the winner till the end, and it's harder to tell Ticket to Ride. Some of those can fall into the trap of more advanced players can start locking you and blocking you out. So when you're playing with better players on there, they know that hey, I go here, go here, go here, and it's game's over. So that can also be a problem balancing for high level players to low level players, which going to one of my next points. Hearthstone. That is Hearthstone's biggest issue and why it fails and why it will never be as competitive as Magic the Gathering or other card games. It just absolutely fails that test. I mean, it's horrible at that. Um, I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about other card games negativity. Just know that Hearthstone's a poor example of a lot of things on card games, and it gets away with the fact that it's got a lot of fun elements. Um, its randomness is fun. It makes random choices fun. It makes cool character animations. It makes it so you can do a lot of strange things with their deck setups and things like that. But it's as far as a strategy game, comparing it to say like chess, if chess is your example of a perfect strategy game, which it's not, but it's close. It's very close. Um, Go is probably closest to the perfect strategy game we have. But if you use chess as your modern standard of a great strategy game, then Hearthstone is like a two. And the reason why Hearthstone is a two is because basically it relies too much on randomness and too much on factors other than actual strategy and skill. So Magic the Gathering's problem ends up being too much history, too many years of lore and other stuff to lock them down to. It could be a good game again. It was good game at points, and it will probably be a good game at points again. It's just their attempts to make new content tend to screw their balance, and that's a major issue. Um, with this, one of the things I would suggest with anybody making games, and me making this card game I'm particularly doing, is that any kind of future set ideas that you have, any concepts that you're going to bring into there, um, create those concepts now. Like, just over create when you first create, and then under put out to begin with. So, for example, I have probably about let me get to the one of them. Here we go. Bam. Um, a move here is action chaos. Get that in there. You can see action chaos. Destroy this card. Unstack chaos and unstack. I have probably about 40 different keywords that are like those in each category. So probably actually about a little over 100 total different type of keyword abilities that could be utilized for this. And I've got rules for each one of them now set aside and concepts I want to do. I haven't tested them all. I'm going to test them all, but I'm only going to release about 20 of those word combo types. Well, 20 of the types, multiple combos of them, but only about 20 of them in the first version of this when I actually do get it out for testing, because having over 100 different keywords on there would be impossible for people to learn at first. But what I do have is now an ability when I need to go in the future or change things or add things, or when someone's like, hey, this would be really cool if you do this. Like, well, I already got that concept built in and it works with the cards here. So I'm not building cards now that later I have to remove from my game. I do not like that. I think that is a lazy game maker when he decides that, oh, this game is just broken now because of this card, so I'm going to take this older card out to make this newer card work. That is lazy. Don't do that. I understand that some companies got a bottom line and they only have so much time for development, things like that. If they're a small indie company, um, so you just focus again on whenever you're doing any kind of game creation, focus on completion of what you can and make sure it's to the fullest of what your ability is at that stage. You don't want to, again, using these as an example, you don't want to only make four of your cards and be trying to test the play in with only four of them out there, or you don't want to be trying to test them by playing with the files on your computer, going like, okay, I'm going to use the visuals like this. No, you want to have a physical in-hand copy of your strategy so you can pull it out, you can show other people, you can break it out when you bring it. I carry a bag of cards everywhere with me like this. All these have all my cards for my card game, so that if somebody just so happens to want to hear about it or play it, I can show it off to them and I can get their feedback and their ideas. Uh, so I'm going to do two things here before I go. I am going to show you guys something, a skill that you can utilize for yourself for helping you make card games. And then I am actually going to show off a tool real quick that helps in the creation of games. And this will be a portion of what I do each time I do what's called the process here, which is what this is kind of is. This is kind of a preview again of the process. I've already done one of the two of the previews. The first process video is actually going to possibly be a friend of mine, Ryan Simpson. He's a DJ, and he's agreed to at least initially to talk about doing part of the tutorial and learning about how he does what he does and explain to people how they can do, and maybe if he's interested in doing more, a series just teaching you all how to do that. I want to say you all, anybody who watches in the future here. So save this video as a reminder that I am doing more. But here at this point I got two things to show you, so I'm going to go off camera for just a second. So I'm going to be right back. Hold on. And we are back here. So this is a real cool tool that a friend of mine, Mike put this out to me. Mike is awesome, very intelligent guy. He's someone I was mentioning earlier who helped me out with some of the work. What this is a tool for punching cards. As you can see, that goes up and down there. Should do it that way. You can see that little thing. So basically, you slide a piece of paper in here, and I can actually just show you with this. We'll just do it with a piece of paper. Ta-da! So we got our paper, right? So this is what I have to do when I want to make a card. I line it up. Of course, I'm doing this backwards in there. So we get there. So we find where the picture goes, and then I do this. Of course, let's get it the right way. All right. So then I do this. Bam. All right. See that? Perfect size. Same size every time. Now I got nice little edge there. You can put that in the sleeves. It works out perfect. Now that's not cardstock. I bought cardstock to do it with, but this cost him 40 bucks online, and it has been one of the greatest time savers I have ever had. The first time I made a card game, to cut the first set of 2 decks of 40 cards and get them so that they felt even and they didn't feel like one was bigger than the other, took me 4-5 hours to just cut out 40 cards a piece, so 80 cards total, like 4 or 5 hours of work to cut out 80 cards. I have punched out close to 12,000 cards with that now in probably around the same amount of time. It's yeah, it's so much faster. So much faster. Okay. So now I'm going to teach you a skill. Normally this would be a visualized thing, but today I'm going to teach you a skill about how to deal with frustrations and problems in the game creation process. So one of the things you'll come across, and I'm going to pull up my cards again, is when, say, you're doing this, you'll find somebody who breaks your game. They right off the bat, they break the game. They find a issue or a hole in the game, and it just immediately sinks it. Your gut sinks. Your whole attitude about what you thought about the way the game was going changes. It can ruin your day. So instead of doing what most people would do, which is pull the card immediately, do all that, just take it out, screw it, that card's gone, that piece of the game's gone, I'll just redesign the whole thing, go over it. What I did, and what I do, is I challenge the person to then break that breaking. So you basically, whenever you come across a naysayer, or whenever you come across a problem of someone from outside that is presenting you an issue that says, hey, you can't do this because of this, you say back to them, okay, well, what would you do to solve that? What do you do? What can you do to break that? So as an example, a friend of mine found out that this card I have, the War Elephant, is just absolutely just dominating. It's a dominating card. It destroys everything. So after he used it 2 or 3 times when we were testing, I basically said, okay, I'm going to put the War Elephant in the other deck. I'm going to have the other deck have the War Elephant, and I want you to find a way to beat it. I want you to look through my cards and find what balances against the War Elephant, what makes the War Elephant not work. And so he looked through and he found another card, and he realized, okay, that card doesn't counter the War Elephant, but it makes it so that the War Elephant doesn't have anything to target. So then your War Elephant isn't as effective. So essentially, the War Elephant clogs up your hand as a useless card since it's not targeting things. So instead of being useful every turn, it becomes an every other, every third. So instead of having to remove an element from my game, I just found another element to my game that I needed to focus on more and continue and increase. And so my skill that I would say that you guys should learn is to learn the see the silver lining, I guess, and to learn to also not be afraid to challenge other people to break your game. If someone just because someone finds something that breaks in the game doesn't mean they won't also find something to fix it. Like you should test it with them, especially people who break your game. Anybody who finds a hole in what you do, you want that person working with you. That person has your best interest looking out for you. People who ignore the holes and say, you know what, that's not a big deal. They may think they're doing you a favor, but they're more than likely they're causing you problems in the long run, as other people won't be as forgiving. So again, the skill I would teach you is to basically again challenge people and to see the silver line. Challenge people to fix the holes they see in your product instead of just being a naysayer. It's kind of called polishing the stone if you've ever taken a business course on that. Whenever someone says, "Hey, this is an issue with this project," instead of just saying, "Hey, this is an issue," you're supposed to come up with a solution to present at the same time. And so that's kind of the feedback you would want to get. And if people don't know how to do that, then that's what you got to do. You got to let people know how to give the feedback that will be helpful to you. So instead of just saying, "Tell me what's wrong," try to think of ways to improve it for me. And same thing, I challenge you. I'm sure you guys are going to watch this. Someone's going to watch this and say, "Wow, this guy did a terrible job at this. He didn't engage me with this. He forgot to do this." One of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to do like a second camera so I can do this portion without having to cover me. So I'm going to have a second camera where I'm just going to go like this and put him under, and you guys will see the camera because I saw a friend who does that, and it's very effective. He does it with a different product. I'm going to plug him, Useless Wizard. Go watch his miniatures painting. He's amazing on it. He's a great guy, very intelligent. And he speaks about all kinds of things. You'll learn about accents and all kinds of great stuff. But basically, he's can't plug it enough. But yeah, the setups that I have aren't necessarily perfect, so I'm okay with learning. I'm here to learn. I'm here to teach, but I'm also here to learn, and I'm also here to promote. That's also one of the things I'm going to do. You're going to hear me promote a lot of people. My music that you heard coming in and out probably today, what you'll hear coming in and out today, will be from Heavy Step. He's a friend of mine. He's a local guy here who's also an artist and musician. And he's going to be doing his own streaming of some Pokemon games as well, because he's going to start doing that. I'm going to help him out with that a bit. And then the other art that I have that you see, the Eternal Fate sign that you might see it in spots all across my sites, that's being done from my cousin. He's Savage Industries or Savage Images. I'm not sure yet. I'll have to look that up again. But he's a great artist. Does a lot of graffiti style art for names. If you want some of that done, let me know and I'll get him on it. I buy them from him right now for fairly cheap, but I think once some people see his stuff and what he has to offer, he can start getting some more money from that. Because he's a great artist and a good guy overall. So and all that. If you like any of the games that I play here or do anything on that, just hit me up. I can send you copies of the cards, other things like that if you want to look at it yourself. And if you have any ideas about the game, let me know. And if you have any games yourself that you're making or any products at all, art, music, crafts, anything. I don't care if you knit. I want to see it. I love seeing what everybody's passionate about. That's what I'm here to do, is to see what you're passionate about and help you explore that greater. So if you like this video and you want to learn more and you want to see more, this has gone way longer than I thought it was going to be, about 15 to 20 minutes. I've done 43 because I like to ramble. That's the other thing. Sorry, I like to talk, so you'll hear a lot of wordy videos like this. But the big thing going out, I want to see your products. I want to help you be creative, and I want to help you in promoting you and into getting more out there. If I never make a dime off of this, I'm okay. If my friends can use their art and talent to make a living off of it, that would be amazing. That would be my goal. So thank you for joining me. Enjoy a little bit of his music again. It's gonna go to the starting soon, but that's just because that's where I have the music. I need to put it on the ending too. Enjoy the music a little bit here while I pack up and get stuff going. Thanks for joining me, and you have a great day.